Let's talk wear and tear. Normal use means some wear is expected, but significant damage, abuse, or neglect is another story. At Chambers Theory, we understand the difference and encourage you to take care of your space as outlined in your lease. It's all part of real estate with intelligence, creating and maintaining a home you love.